Do you love pain, occasionally winning, and most of all gambling? If so, you've come to the right place. It's Dynasty and welcome to For the uninitiated and mentally sane people out there, this is Balatro, a poker-inspired deck-building roguelike, which, while developed by a lone man in 2024, managed to win multiple awards for its simple yet addicting style. Don't let the simplistic style fool you. This game, as I'm learning with most roguelikes, is an evil creation produced with the sole purpose of thinking you have a chance before ripping it away from you. Now, while this slow progression and creative learning curve would normally not pose an issue to most people as they casually play through the game, I had a drastically different approach in mind. I wanted to see if I could master Balatro in only 12 hours. Now, as with the other games I cover in this series, the idea of mastering is quite subjective. There are roguelike pros out there who have not only finished this game to completion with a full collection of items and all the achievements, but also have the knowledge and ability to tackle any wild idea they see fit in this Joker-driven deck builder. As I like my sanity and am only restricted to 12 hours of gameplay, I have set my own objectives to complete in order to call myself a master-ish. Number 1. Beat 5 different decks. Ranging any color order, I just have to complete the game 5 times. Number 2. Play a hand worth over 1,000,000 points. Shouldn't be too hard, but we'll see how we go. And lastly, attempt to beat the increasing stake difficulty levels of a single deck, ending with the gold stake hopefully before the 12-hour mark hits. With all that being said, it was now time to grab my seat for the next 12 hours and put my gambling knowledge to the test. Before getting into the challenge, I'll note this isn't my first experience with Balatro. I'd played about 10 hours in my free time on my phone when the game first released 2 years ago. This left me with some slight flashbacks of knowledge and how to tackle the game, but not enough for this challenge to be anything other than extreme for me, especially with the time constraint. In saying that, I downloaded the game on Steam for the first time, booted it up, and after some quick setting alterations, got straight into the game's tutorial. After this little bastard had had enough of teaching me, he proceeded to beat my ass, mock me, and send me on my way. A quick change to some visuals and I was back and ready for revenge as I started my first run. Now, for those who haven't touched this game and seen general gameplay, Balatro focuses on building powerful runs through use of Joker cards, as they call them, and traditional poker hands such as straights, pairs, flushes, etc. to build up points. You only have a certain amount of turns to beat the point requirement of that stage, or blind, as they call it. If you succeeded, you move on to the next blind, with every third blind being the boss round with harder conditions to be met. Beat the boss blind 8 times to finish the run. However, if you fail to meet your anti-goal at any point, you're set straight back to square one. The system works well with the roguelike loop of building the best run possible to carry you as far as you can, but more often than not, failing to find what you need to make the process easy. With my first run underway, my prior baseline experience helped me power through the scaling antes with a basic plan in mind. Establish economies so I can pretend to be rich and use my stock power to stockpile a crazy collection of planets and tarot cards. Form my foundation of chip building jokers and cards, followed by multi-cards to scale these points further, and times multi to take the score to crazy levels for the endgame. Using all these somewhat half-kinda efficiently-ish allowed me to beat Ante-8 without much issue, setting the stages for the first victory using the blue deck. Apparently it was efficient enough to keep scaling, as this wasn't the end of this run. Surprisingly, I managed to carry these jokers all the way to ante 11, even completing my goal of scoring over 1 million points multiple times with crazy hands. It eventually ended at the beginning of ante 11 with my hand not lining up well enough to surpass the 7 million requirement. This felt almost too easy and had me feeling way too confident in completing my goals, especially with 11 hours remaining. But stick around to see how insanely wrong I was about that. I proceeded to sit through a full minute and a half of unlocks before jumping straight into my next decks, as I had no time to waste. This is where I was humbled. I got absolutely destroyed with the gold, green, red, and then gold again, with my longest run only making it to the start of ante 6. With sheer determination, my next gold run following this managed to scrape through with random mixes of jokers and some leveled up cards. With 2 down and 3 to go, I began my 3rd hour by using the newly unlocked Spectral deck. While my first 2 runs weren't the best to say the least, by the time I was into my 3rd, it was starting to flow and led to my 3rd deck completion without too much struggle. A quick round of regret with the black deck led to a strong win with the green through use of the power scaling of a bus. What works, works, I guess. As can be said for the very next run, as the use of negative power jokers and a mythical banana carried me to my final deck completion. Almost 6 hours down and I was well on my way to mastering Balatro with 2 objectives complete. Truth be told, however, I expected to bypass these without too much issue. The main overwhelming challenge was yet to come, as I now have to beat increasing difficulty spikes with a single deck to hopefully climb to the top and beat Gold Stake. Something I only accomplished on mobile once through utter crap and pure luck mostly. Though my hopes weren't the highest going into this, to say the least. The first red stake changed very little, as it only removed a small amount of the rewards given, therefore being pretty easy to beat. Green stake followed with an added faster scaling, which while definitely added pressure throughout the run, it didn't stop the power of the banana from winning. The next difficulty added eternal jokers, which are basically just jokers you're stuck with if you choose to pick them, which doesn't cause too much issue as long as you avoid the ones you don't need. This piled on with the faster scalings and no direct plan in the run led to my first loss in the higher difficulties. It wasn't my last either. This stake held me back for a while, as bad starts and lack of synergy led to multiple restarts and failed runs. Eventually, the use of my first ever legendary rarity joker managed to barely get me across the line using its scaling power. The difficulty was now rapidly increasing, however, as with just over 4 hours remaining, I was only halfway through the stake levels and had just lost one of my discards, not to mention the compounding effects of all previous stakes. I was now resorting to extreme measures to push as far as I could in the time available, restarting runs quickly if the first 1 or 2 rounds didn't go my way. After another full hour of countless failed attempts, I finally landed on the crazy setup, abusing the insane scaling of the Madness Joker, unkillable effects of the other Eternals that I had somehow found to match, and somehow the luck of duplicating Madness to have insane levels of times multi. This showcased just how stupid these runs of Balatro can become with just the right combination of bullshit and luck. This happened to take me the furthest I'd ever been to, with single hand scoring over 6 million. Sadly, not enough to break into ante 12, as it started to run out of steam and barely fell short of the 21 million point mark. Honestly, with a slightly better hand or more focus, I probably could have beaten this, but oh well, we move on with the color stakes for now. Here we were. 3 final hours of my challenge now remained, and I was about to tackle the biggest difficulty spike yet. Apparently the faster scaling of green stake wasn't enough before, so now I've got even faster scaling with the purple stake. Mind you, still stacking on top of the previous effects. Even with these stacking effects, I still, after only a few quick restarts, made it back to anti-8. But as like any other roguelike, never have too much hope. I fell only 8k points short of the score with an okay build, but just not enough late game scaling. The banana had let me down this time. In the moment, this didn't seem to be such a problem as I'd only been on purple stake for 20 minutes. So I took this run for granted at the time, not thinking of it as I still had enough time to power out this difficulty and move on. Once again, I was wrong. Attempt after attempt after attempt, countless quick restarts, multiple failed builds, and no luck on my side at this point. The following 2.5 hours were fighting an uphill battle in which the goddamn color purple won. I couldn't even get another run to line up well enough to pass anti-6, and with the pressure of time against me and no luck left, it was probably time to accept my place. But I still had just enough time for one final run. Yeah, this wasn't it either, but I tried. As I said earlier, gold stake is no small feat and typically takes much longer to accomplish, but hey, this wouldn't be a challenge if I just sat here and mindlessly powered out the game for the next 20 hours to beat it. The time was set to test me and see if I could truly master this simple yet brutal game in only one day. I had made great progress and proved I could push all the way through Poker Joker lifestyle, but failed to get past the final few hurdles. Let me know if you think I've mastered Balatro, but for now, this is all I could achieve. Who knows, maybe I'll return to tackle this god-forsaken purple stake again, and even tackle more wild goals, but you'll have to stick around and find out. If you haven't already, go check out my Twitch, where you can watch me suffer in real time as I slowly make my way through more challenges in the coming days. For now, thank you for watching, and it's time for me to move on to my next level of pain.